Perfect. Hi, Brenda. Hi, everybody. So I'm gonna give everybody maybe a couple of seconds to continue joining, but thank you so much for joining us in this webinar that we're very excited about on behalf of HTwenty. And well, we have Brenda Hernandez who will be leading this amazing webinar on building culture in the workplace. So just to give you all a quick update. If you don't know HTwenty Capital, we are a venture capital fund. We are based out of Mexico City, Miami, and Colombia. Regardless, we're an early stage investor looking at all of Latin America and the US as well. And specifically, we are investing in B2B marketplaces, SaaS, and B2B fintech companies. And well, Brenda's gonna give you a little more on her background, but would love to get a chance to introduce you, Brenda, to our attendees. Brenda has an admirable career in people and talent. She has had such as global head of talent at companies like Rappi, and chief human resources officer at companies like Valoreo and Tul. Today, she's now the co-founder and CHRO at SKALA, which is an HR as a service solution that helps scale companies to the next level. So, Brenda, thank you so much for joining us, and for hosting this webinar with us. And I'll leave you to it.
Thank you, Monse. No, the pleasure is mine, and thank you for having this amazing opportunity to talk a little bit about this subject that for me is one of the most exciting ones, that is about creating culture in the workplace. But sometimes there are a lot of conversations around culture, and we know that we have a lot of information regarding culture, but definitely I would like to have a super transparent conversation, share tools, share things that maybe I have learned through my experience by implementing and by unleashing culture in different type of companies. Sharing with you my failures and also my learnings and experiences overall. So I think this should be a very good opportunity to learn from each other, to share, and to give you a little bit of perspective about how we can really take advantage of this important asset in the organizations and in the people and talent side. So a little bit of the intro, and very short. As Monse said, I have been working for the HR function for around 20 years. I can divide my career in like two sides and two parts. The first part, it has been around my foundations. I have been having the great opportunity to learn from amazing companies and from I was born and raised, let's say, in General Electric, which has been my school for more than 10 years. I have been having the opportunity to work with amazing people, mainly in the supply chain and manufacturing side, in oil and gas business, in aviation business, and transportation rail business. And then moved to the world of fintech when Mastercard has been transforming into a digital fintech world, from the financial services, the basic or the most foundational financial services companies. So it has been an amazing opportunity not only to work within Latin America, but outside Latin America. So that gave me a little bit of more perspective of the global talent and the global footprint. And then I moved to I name here like the roller coaster, right? So the roller coaster is more about the startup world. I was really interested to go into it when I was doing my studies in my MBA. I was learning a lot about startups and the scale ups and this type of companies. I was super thrilled to go into this type of world, and have been, like, I put like here, like feels like 10 years, but but there are only 5 plus 5 amazing years I have been working for these amazing companies, with the founders of these companies, with great leaders and talents within these companies that we have been building together in different stages. The scale up of Rappi, the seed round, from the seed round to the Series B, until we sold Valoreo to Razor Group, Tul, which has been recently pivoting to a marketplace. So and now being having my own company named SKALA, where it's a little bit about HR services, HR as a services model that we're having into this company, providing and trying to democratize first-class human resources services for every company, SMEs, scale-ups, startups, and this type of companies. Okay, so let's get started, because this is the thing about this session. And I would like to ask you a very, very quick question. So I'm gonna go through the comments here. Please put your comments and in the comment side and help me to answer these questions, because I'm really curious about it. So how much time have you invested in your strategic deck for investors, your board? I mean, how much time have you invested into this type of thing that is obviously super important whenever you have these strategic conversations on these type of things? So I would like to learn more about it. So I will go a little bit off into the presentation and see in the comment side, what do you think about it? So I will give you some minutes. So can you please share your comments? Like, how much time have you invested in this type of strategic presentations for investors or for stakeholders? I would like to learn a little bit about you. Okay, anyone? Okay. Okay, so one thing that is very important for me to know, it is sometimes, and this is a very, very, very important question, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of things going on when you have this type of presentations, right? You have your stakeholders presentation in terms of the strategic side. And I have seen in my experience that have been a long hours where we invest into this type of decks, right? Maybe like days or weeks doing that, because this is something that you need to prepare for your stakeholders, right? So for example, I remember when we were preparing for the board of directors presentations, or whenever we had like a round to face, I don't know, the Series B, the Series A, there is a long time that we invest into this type of decks that I want to showcase our business cases, I want to showcase our results, our strategy, etc. But the other question I have for you is, okay, and how much time have you invested in your culture deck, right? So this question is very important for me to know, and I would like to know how much time, or if you have invested some time in the culture side in your organization, and having a real culture deck in the same way as you have the strategic deck for your investors. So so this is a very good reflection, and this is why I am having this question for you, because there are many times that we invest more time into the strategic side, the business side, but we don't invest the same time into the culture side. And culture is just as important as your strategic deck. So in the same way, the culture code cannot be in a lower level than your strategic deck of your company. And that's very relevant, very important. So the culture, it is an asset of your company, and needs to be treated in the same way as you treat your business modeling, as you treat your unit economics, as you treat your other parts of the company. So cannot be in the lower level, and for sure needs to have relevance in the time that you invest by developing it. So talent culture cannot be just a phrase that just love your stakeholders, because that's true, right? Whenever we have presentations in the, I don't know, in the external side with investors and with the board and like that, we mention about talent, and talent is important. But to be super honest, it's true, sometimes we don't have, or we don't invest the right time into the talent and culture side, right? And because we have other priorities at the same time, or maybe because we think whenever we do the check and balances about prioritization, it's very difficult to balance them. And unfortunately, but that's true, talent and culture are like the second or the third thing that you invest time. And this is something that needs to change. And in the way that you change it is in the way that this can be a better asset for your company. But for that, you need to be intentional. We need to be congruent and genuine. Culture cannot be something that you just put on the wall and you just, sit down, write down alone, and then everybody's gonna follow. Culture is like is like a human being, right? It's like something that needs to evolve through the time, something alive that changes through the time, that is not static. And day to day is something that grows and something that changes. Okay, so as a human being, if you compare culture with the human being, is the same, right? Cannot be something that you expect can be the same every single time, have different needs, and it's something that fits from the environment to be real and to be alive. So I recommend you a lot this book that for me is one of my favorite ones, that where Ben Horowitz talk about these failures and good things about building a company, building companies. And he mentioned something very good about culture. So Ben Horowitz say, what you do is what is who you are. And it's completely true. Culture is not about throwing some nice sounding values into the wall, right? That's cool, right? And sometimes you see, unfortunately, some companies that, well, the founders or maybe the owners of the company made some values at some time of because they believe about that, not because, I mean, they were not having they were right or wrong, right? The point is, they had these values at some time of the story, they felt that it was right to do so, but at the end they just put down over there, and then they left the story, and didn't have any intentional action by making sure that that values were growing through the time and distributing and being spread out through the organization. And they became just good words in the wall that nobody knows, or maybe nobody is connected with. So culture, it's about how do you represent the day-to-day actions. So, and I put this here because that's a very, this is something fun, but it's very real, right? Sometimes we have this confusion about building culture is to have good perks or have cool events or have engagement events. Culture is not about engagement events or having like a football game over there, or have the peace and beers on these cool things around them, the work environment. Culture is not about that, right? It's fine to do that, but it's not about that, right? Culture is about your day-to-day actions and how your people demonstrate them in the day-to-day basis. How do you make decisions with people? How do your leaders behave whenever you are not there? That's the meaning of culture, right? So whenever the owner is not there or the founder is not there, how do you behave? And how do you reflect that in your decisions? And the big question about that is if that is consistent with your mindset, right? Because one thing that I have experimented into this type of organizations, different to the in the startup world mainly, is that mature organizations have been growing the culture through more than maybe 50 years or 100 years, right? I remember, for example, when I was in General Electric, more than 100 years company, for sure has like a very penetrated culture, right? Super penetrated culture that has been growing through a long time. And the culture is everything that has been built around the framework that the company has been built. And no matter who has been leading the organization, whether it was Jeff Immelt or Jack Welch or whatever, you felt GE like an entity, right? Like a cultural entity. The point here is that in startups, one thing that is curious and has been a very important learning for me is that the culture that you have is directly proportional to the mindset of the founders. So that's amazing, but also that's a thing that you need to take care of, because the point is, it's very easy to translate that at the beginning with the first team that is surrounding you, or the founding team, let's say. The point is that whenever the company grows, the ADN can be difficult to be spread out, right? So the sense or the foundation of the culture is very difficult to spread out, because sometimes there is you scale so fast that it's very difficult for the companies to make sure that everybody who is joining the company has the same mindset, right? And one thing that it has been super interesting story that I had with one of the founders I have been working with is that we were like reminding how cool was the culture when the company has been beginning, right? We remind when we were like starting the company, and the culture over there and the culture that we built at the time, it was amazing. But we were surprised about how this company grew so fast. We hired more than 1,000 people, and whenever we came into the track, bring that people into the track in 1 year or so, we thought, okay, how we're gonna make sure these people has the same emotion, the same excitement about the company as the ones that are starting with us, the company. And that's the magic about how you can really make sure that culture penetrates, no matter if the company has been initiating or no matter the company is growing. If you realize that culture is like a human being, every single human being in different stages have different needs, right? So it's not the same myself like 20 years ago, the type of things that I needed, instead of the things that the person I am now I need, right? So it's different. It's super different, the type of needs that you have or you need from one age to other, right? So the point is, here I put in 3 amazing companies that have been building this type of cult cultures, let's say. And by meaning cult cultures, it's about cultures which have a lot of sense in terms of day-to-day actions, a lot of congruency, a lot of rituals, and they have been building like many assets around culture, and they have been leveraging culture as one of the most important values of the company. So if you really invest time by doing that, believe me that culture is going to unleash the business potential. If culture is just about a good thing or a cool thing to talk, it's not going to be a real asset, right? We need to be intentional by building that. For example, Netflix, right? Netflix has been realizing that the cultural innovation was super important, and they have been creating a lot of assets around culture, such as, for example, talent density, right? Talent density, that means the quality of talent. For them, it was very important to make sure that every single person that joined the company really was super high embedded into having very strong potential, very strong quality of deliverables, without any hesitation to do hard decisions by if they were realizing somebody was not doing right, they made very fast decisions around that. And another examples around that, for example, the keeper test, different type of tools that they created around culture. For example, Amazon, right? Amazon created a culture that is very high penetrated about these type of rituals that they have, like the paper that they read in every single meeting. They have like different type of ways that they solve problems in the day-to-day basis, this client focus or client centricity around the way that they build the teams and they build the way of work of the company, right? The Spotify, right? That they just recently wrote a book named Bold, that's basically talking about how ruthless prioritization in terms of culture and having a real leadership manifesto and this type of things can create and unleash a very important and very, very strong culture in the company that can be preserved, right? So at the end of the day, if you see in this type of examples, culture, if you really have it as an asset where you invest time by doing that, it's amazing, and you can see and the real value and the potential of having this as the value of the company, right? So
I just wanted to let you know that we can't see your slides on the, you're not presenting anymore. So if you could put it back up.
Oh my God. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't see. Sorry.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay. So sorry about that. Thank you. So can you see me now? Yes. Right? So sorry about that. sorry. So so I have been working in, okay, I was over here, right? It was about Netflix, about Amazon, about Spotify. But then let's talk about a little bit of the thesis behind this. And it's not about rocket science. It's not about something that we are inventing or something. It's about how you can really connect this concept of culture in terms of asset of profitability, right? And everything is connected with something named employee lifetime value. Okay, and employee lifetime value is a model where it explains a little bit about, okay, you have an average performing company and an employee, like the regular employee life cycle into the company, right? Whenever the person is starting the company, fully contribute, then you go with the maximum potential, then you go with the decision to leave, and then the last day, right? So this is like the average life of a person in a regular company. But what happens whenever you inject something great, something different around different things in terms of the different points of a person in the organization, right, within the company? So, for example, if you invest time by doing a better onboarding process, or you invest time by doing like a better work by hiring top talent, or here, if you have investing in time, or you invest time into the winning culture side by creating a great environment where everybody can be embracing and engaged. At the end of the day, what you do is maximize the productivity and expand the retention period of the person. It's not about rocket science, right? It's if you really maximize the resource of the talent in your organization and you put culture as one of the assets of growth, that is going to maximize the resource, and at the end of the day is going to be reflected in your profitability of the business. And culture can be measured, right? There are data behind culture. You have, for example, tools like employee net promoter score, and this type of scores that or data that you can use, or maybe you can measure other type of metrics where it can be translated into money and into also things that are happening in the organization, in the business side. And believe me that if you start doing that intentionally, and if you measure culture, it's going to be, and you're going to be amazed about the way that culture can be something not only to attract the best people, not only to retain the best talent, but also to have this as a differentiation, as a differentiator of the company. And that can be something that can unleash the company potential. So, okay, this is a little about the context and why the culture is so important. And we were talking about different type of companies and Ben Horowitz and like that. But how we're going to make it happen, right? So, because cannot be super theoretical and then, okay, I want to invest time. I want to invest time into the culture. But what can I do in terms of building that? So one of the things I have learned, and this is a very interesting thing that I would like to share with you. For sure, I wanna, if you want, I can share with you this presentation, or whatever, or I can ask Monse in HTwenty to share that with you. But and you can also put some information here about the links and get it. But the point is, everything starts with the why and with the purpose of the organization. With that, you can be super powerful, super intentional about the way that you really build the culture around. Without having the right, I mean, without having the definition about the purpose of your company, the purpose of your team, the company, whatever, it's very difficult to connect with something, because at the end of the day, everything starts with the why. Simon Sinek is the creator of this theory named the Golden Circle, and I want to share with you what's about. But I really recommend you and encourage you to do this exercise. It's an exercise that it's around a discussion about, okay, what's the why behind us? It's not about what do we do as a company. And Simon Sinek has a very interesting TED talk that it's about how do you create your golden circle, how companies have been creating that, and how this, by being defined, can be a very strong competitive advantages into the company. So it's the golden circle. It's integrated by three parts, right? And everything goes like in this, from this circle, that is the what. So it's about, okay, what do we do? Okay, so the products that we sell or services that we offer, right? Then you go with the how. Okay, the how, it's about how do we make things happen. Okay, what make us special, or how we can separate or make us special from the competition, right? And in the why, it is, okay, it's not about what we do, but why do we do that? Okay. Whenever you have that point, it's more easy to connect everything about culture, because that has some meaning. Okay. So, for example, you can go with the golden circles for different type of companies. I really encourage you to go into this. It's a video that takes around 15 minutes to go. And it's very interesting to learn, for example, how companies such as Apple and Microsoft and other companies around the world have been defining that. And by doing that exercise, and believe me, it's not an exercise that's going to take weeks and weeks. It's an exercise that maybe you can do for one day. You can leverage it in a workshop, or you can leverage it in a space in a workshop whenever you are doing a review of your strategy or something, and can be a very amazing discussion within the team to really create something powerful where everybody can connect. Okay, so it's not about, okay, we do computers, or we do software, or we do an app, right? It's more about, okay, why do we do that? We want to, I don't know, maybe for one company can be, we are here because we believe, for example, when I was in Tul, the purpose of Tul was, we believe that every single Latin American deserves dignified living, right? So it was the purpose of the company. So everything that we built around the culture, it was connected into that, and we were expecting that the people we hired was inspired about the culture and the purpose of the company, right? If you just bring people because of the money, because of the economics, and because their salary is amazing, it's not going to be enough. You need to have people who is really connected with your purpose, and by having that intentionally and define it, believe me, that is going to be more easy for you to connect everything about culture. Okay, so again, so let me talk a little bit about some framework that for me has been an amazing tool that I have been used through the time to create this cultural definition, because the point is the following: sometimes we confuse. Okay, we have our culture defined, right? But we just have maybe the values or the behaviors that we expect from the company, right? But the point is, okay, culture is more than that, right? Culture is something, if you really want to unleash your business potential and create an amazing culture, you need to define it in different spots so can be in every single place and action of the company. Okay, so this framework is very useful, and a lot of companies have been using that for building their culture code of the company. And this framework is named Culture Canvas. Okay, Culture Canvas is a tool that has been used by Spotify, by Twitter, by Slack, by many companies, and is confirmed by different modules or subjects where you discuss about this. It's about decision making. It's about the priorities of the company, the values, the rituals, the feedback, the behaviors, and like that. And Gustavo Rasetti has been amazing by doing this type of tool that is super practical and really enables this type of conversations that sometimes we don't dedicate the time. Because one of the things that also have been a very important learning for me working with founders and leaders in the organization is that we think that everybody knows or believes the same thing that we believe. And it's not true. If you go with assumptions with people and you assume that everybody's in the same page about you without questioning or without having intentional conversations about that, it's very difficult to make sure that that happens in the same way or that you really realize that it's happening in the same way that you expect. So this is why culture needs to be transparent and intentional. And this is why it cannot be managed by assumptions, right? So let me talk a little bit about how you can use this framework, okay, and how you can prepare your organization to make that happen, and how you can leverage this tool to make your culture code in the company that I will really encourage you to have it and to spread out and to share it whenever you have ready, okay? So there are two phases to have this culture deck or this culture code ready. So the phase one is to prepare. Basically, whenever prior your culture design session, you build your dream team. Let's say you can assemble this team. It's a group of people, no more than 15 people of the company, but it's very important that needs to be a diverse team from different business units, different tenure, different seniority. Cannot be only the leadership team. Please don't go with that mistake that you just invite. If you want to go into this, you just invite your C-level and everybody in the C-level decides that, no, this is very wrong. You need to create a diverse team where everybody can really feed the conversation in different ways, in different tenures, and in different type of thinking, okay? And sometimes, I mean, there are many ways to do this type of workshop, but I encourage you to really do that in a micro, let's say in micro sessions, around 1.5 hours or two. About 5 sessions is gonna take, right? Because sometimes whenever you have long hours of conversation about this type of dense subjects, and people are tired or become like a little bit difficult to continue the conversations, because these conversations need to be profound, need to be intentional, need to be something that you really connect and you want to get the best from everybody. So this is my recommendation. For sure, you can do it in 1 day or 2 if you want to have like a full sprint. But to be honest, it's better whenever you have like people maybe in different type of sessions. You can do it through 1 week or through 2 weeks, whatever you want. But you need to have everybody fresh and ready and engaged to make sure that the value that you get from the sessions is the best one. Okay, so the phase 2 is about the discussions, and let's talk a little bit about the different parts of the culture code or the culture framework, and what is every single part, because that's very important to talk. So the first one, it's about everything needs to start with the purpose. We talk about that. And in terms of the purpose, you connect that with the value. So that's the first discussion that you go. The purpose, to define the purpose, and we already talk about how you can define the purpose and the tool that you can use. By the way, there is a lot of literature and a lot of resources to to have this type of sessions about the golden circle and the why and everything. I can share with you if you want me to write me, or you want to send me a message through LinkedIn. I can share with you some tools about it. But the point is, whenever you have the purpose defined, this is the first thing. The second part is about values, okay? This is the second part that you need to talk about. And it's about the fundamental beliefs that are going to guide your employees about the behaviors, right? So it's going to be, okay, which are the beliefs that we have as a company, which are the beliefs that we have as people around the company. So the discussion needs to go around that type of things. So it's like as I said here, it's like values are the culture, the code of conduct of the company, right? Values are the things that are you are gonna have as the guidance for everybody of behavior side of the behavioral side of the company, right? So that's the first thing. And that first session is gonna be very profound, because believe me, whenever you ask about, okay, which are the things that really connect with us, okay, where are what do we think are we beliefs with our beliefs, for example. So you put together every single post-it around that, and you have the discussion, and you're going to be amazed about the type of conversations that go into these type of things, right? Then go into the other spots of the culture code, okay, of the tool. There is no like a priority here, because you can go from here over there, or you can start from here over there, whatever you want. My recommendation by doing this for several times is, I for me it's very nice to start with behaviors, right? Because values are very high connected with behaviors, right? And values, whenever you have that like define it, it's very good to go with this, because you have it fresh, and it's more rewarding to have this type of conversation by having that. So the question or the discussion around behavior is going to be, okay, which are the things that we are gonna reward or punish, right? So for example, if you see here in the example, in the case of Slack, right? So, for example, the behaviors that they rewarded, it was about humanity, it was about diverse culture, it was about empathy, curiosity. You can, by the way, there are many examples about this culture canvas from the different companies I have mentioned. You can see that, so it can be an inspiration for you. But for example, what behaviors they decided to punish? Being a jerk, for example, small disturbances. I mean, it can be anything, right? The point is that you are going to be amazed about the type of things that are going to occur whenever you have that discussion, because the point is that in the day-to-day basis, as you don't have this type of conversations and you don't invest time in this kind of conversations, several times goes into assumptions. And whenever you have this conversation, you're going to be amazed about the way that maybe a person that you, I don't know, it's in the technology team, is living your culture different than the one that in your C level is living your culture. It's going to be super different, right? So this conversation for me is one of the most enriching ones, because it's like the aha moment when you realize, okay, this is what's going on in my company. This is what's going on in the culture, in the real world of the culture that the people are living. So this is why it's so important to invite this diverse team and this type of multifunctional team, because you want to have like the mind and the participation from different perspectives of the company, right? Then you go into the other side. So let me explain you a little bit about which is the meaning of the conversation of this subject. So, for example, you can go to rituals, right? So in this conversation, you ask the question, or you answer the question about, okay, what are our peculiar ways of starting, managing, or celebrating projects, right? So can be anything, right? So, for example, Slack, right? Slack said, okay, one of our rituals is gonna be an emoji as frosting, never as cake, for example, right? Um, For example, in Tul, when we have defined this a ritual that it was named carretilla, that is basically whenever an accomplishment was gotten, or maybe a new person came in the company, we had this paseo en carretilla, so everybody can go with the person. It was a fun moment with everybody was clapping and like that. So it was a ritual to commemorate something great that happened in the company. So it can be anything that can make iconic the company in some way. For example, Airbnb had another, for example, ritual that it was named the tunnel. So basically, whenever a new person came into the company, there was a tunnel made by the hands of the people in the company, and the ritual was, whenever you come into the tunnel, it was because you were becoming or you were facing like a new stage in your life, right? So can be anything, can be something fun, can be something creative, something that at the end connects with your belief and with your culture, right? So feedback, okay, is okay, how we're gonna give feedback to each other, how do we help each other to learn and grow, right? So which are gonna be the type of actions that we need to make sure to do this type of feedback. So for example, are you gonna use a methodology where everybody needs to be trained about? There are different type of methodologies. You have soy methodology, you have SBIA methodology. Which type of methodology or training do you want to give to your leadership, right, and to your people around? How you are going to make sure that the feedback is spread out, right? How you are going to make sure that everybody is involved about that. So for example, Slack was super intentional about saying, okay, leaders invite to the feedback, and that was something that that Slack expected from the leadership to do, right? Then you go to the psychological safety. That's a very interesting part, because psychological safety is something that requires a little bit of understanding of what's going on in the real side of the day-to-day actions, in the way that the people treat each other, right? So that encourages you to have a good reflection about, okay, do we really have an environment where everybody can speak up, right? Sometimes we think that we do, but not necessarily is the reality, right? So how are we going to make sure that we are going to promote participation and candor over the group think and science, right? So the point is how you are going to create mechanisms, making sure that you have it. So for example, if you are going to have like focus groups, like every single, I don't know, a month, or you are going to have coffee with the founders, right? So the people can have small groups to talk about anything with the founding team or with the leaders. Or maybe you have, I don't know, for example, there's a company that has a very interesting tool that is named a care checking. Care checking is basically a call wherever the leader ask the person, okay, how are you? And it's the only intention of the call. And the intention of the call is to know and learn how is the person doing. And it's not about checking, it's not about doing some work, it's not about reaching some objective. It is just about checking about how the person is doing. So that creates psychological safety. I mean, there are several types of tools and mechanisms to foster psychological safety environments, and making sure that you are having that in your footprint, right? Then you go to the norms and rituals, right? So what is norms and rituals? It's basically how do we clarify the expected behaviors without hindering autonomy, right? So for example, the norms and rituals about Slack, right? So the thing that you see here is about the discussion that we do, right? Because at the end of the day, as many people are participating in the discussion, the decision making about what you put here is going to be crucial, right? It's not that everything is going to be putting there, and the end state of the exercise is that everything is gonna be there. You need to summarize it, and you need to make sure that everybody is in consensus about that. So for example, in the norms and rules, they say, okay, work hard and go home is one of the norms that they have. in order to encourage that everybody can be there just to add value in the workspace, and not because your leader is over there or your boss is over there you need to stay, right? So that's one thing that you put over there. So make sure that everybody know the norm and the rule behind everything, right? So then you have meetings, right? Meetings. So how do we convene and collaborate, right? So it's about, okay, which are going to be our most important meetings and the objective of these meetings, how we can make sure that everybody knows what we expect and how we're going to make it happen, right? So for example, if we are going to have a weekly war room, or if we want to have like a check-in and check-out during the week or whatever, how we're going to make sure that everybody's prepared, and these type of meetings we get the most important value and everybody's connected about it. Because remind something, whenever you have this ready, the culture code ready, and if you want to write me, I can share with you some of the culture codes we have been doing for the different type of companies I have been working with. It's very interesting whenever the person onboards in the company, they see. And also whenever the person is recruited for the company and you share this, it's very nice to share with them because they know what to expect from you, okay? So for example, they see here, okay, we have every single month an all hands, and the intention of these all hands is for you to know this and that, and this is the way that you need to participate, or this is the thing that we expect for you to be informed, or whatever, right? So this is something clear that you are giving for people so everybody knows what to expect, right? And then at the end, you have decision making. And this is about, okay, how do we share authority? Which type of methods do we have to make decisions, right? So for example, here in decision making, Slack said, okay, hiring criteria is going to be, we are going to look for people who are smart, humble, hardworking, and collaborative, right? So this is something that is going to be in every decision-making process of the people that are over there, right? And it can be another things. And for the last part is about priorities. Okay, so priorities is about the discussion on core strategies that will guide the focus and energy of the people. Yeah. Okay. For example, so what this with this type of discussion, you are gonna realize which are going to be the things that are going to be most important for you, and it's going to be easier for everybody to make the right choices. So for example, priorities of Slack, right? Slack said one of our priorities is life balance even over hard work, right? For example, this is one thing that they decided to do, right? And it's fine. So this is, again, this is a very personal and very like you exercise, right? This is not something can go similar, or you can get like plug and play from other companies. It's gonna be something very unique because every single company has different type of beliefs. Every single company has different type of philosophies. And the founders of the companies are different. So no matter if you are a seed round company, no matter if you are a pre-seed round company, whatever, right? It's important to have these type of discussions. And I know that, for example, sometimes it's very difficult to make the time to make this type of decisions because we are super worried by bringing more clients or selling or bringing the technology, whatever, the product. But this is also important to make sure that everybody is connected about what you really want to continue doing in the environment of your company, right? And as more intentional you are, it's going to be better for everybody. Okay. So that decisions come into this, and then we go to the phase 3. So it's about the launch. It's very important whenever you have ready this deck or this information about the culture code. If you have the opportunity to create the deck, to dedicate time to design something exciting and simple to read, so everybody can be connected about that. Make sure that you have the proper launch in the organization. Can be through a culture day, can be through a special meeting that you do, or a special launch, or a special all hands, whatever. It's like the product launch, right? At the beginning of the conversation, we started to talk about, the time that you invest in the strategic deck is very long and is very strong. You need to do the same thing with your culture. Your culture deserves to have investment of time. Cannot be something that can be in the second layer. Needs to be as important as your business model, as important as your financial results, because otherwise it's not going to be the real asset of your company. It's going to be another thing, right? It's going to be a thing over there as others. But if you really put culture as the center of your organization within the people, you're really going to see the benefits by doing that. Okay. So this is why I'm putting here like culture, like the launch needs to be something relevant. Okay. It's very important to honor each part of your culture codes, right? You can create like a Gantt, making sure that every single part of the story is covered. So for example, if you putting there that everybody's going to give feedback based on X model, I don't know if you selected SBIA model or whatever, you need to make sure that everybody's trained. You need to make sure that that's happening, and you need to put a date on that. You cannot leave it just through the time, right? You need to be intentional. And that's why it's very important to put it like as a project. Every single part of the culture code needs to be honored. And this needs to be something people can see everybody using it, everybody acting on it. So I don't know if you know about the innovation curve, but basically the innovation curves goes with these type of stages, right? The people who embrace the beginners or the innovators, which embrace the culture at the beginning or something new at the beginning. Sorry, and then you have the laggers, right? So in the first part of the story of the culture, whenever you have something new, the innovators or the people who are very high connected to your company are going to embrace it. Whenever you go into the tip point about more than this percentage of people that are going to be the ones encouraging your culture, is going to be like a virtuous cycle or like a flywheel in the culture whenever you implement it. I don't know if I was clear, but basically what I say is, if you really have more than 75% of your organization super high connected with your culture and making sure that every single decision making process and action goes into there, is going to be very easy for anybody who joins the company, no matter is employee 2020 or whatever, okay, can be connected with your culture, and you're not gonna have the issue of being scared by not spreading right your culture or your DNA because your company is growing, right? Or because your company has been lasting for the time and you don't know if the people who are going to join the company are going to be connected. If you have the right foundations and the right seats to make that happen, it's going to be something easy for you to manage, okay? So this is why I'm putting here that this is not a champagne effect, right? This cannot be, okay, a good launch and a code that, okay, we have it in our intranet and that's it. Need to be something that you put that in action, and every single decision making needs to be congruent. So it's very important that you as founders and leaders of the organizations, you are accountable of that. We need to be accountable of that, because otherwise it's not going to be permeated, right? It's like anything that you want to be honored, right? Needs to be connected with the real time, in the real actions. Because at the end of the day, if you put something in the culture code that the people are not experimenting, right? The point is, and are not experiencing, right? The point is that dilutes and minimizes the effect, right? So this is why it's so important to make sure that we are the role models of that accountability and culture. It's very important to train the leadership, right, around the culture code. It's very important to hire according the culture that we expect and not negotiate about that. Oh, you know what? This is amazing resume. This is an amazing person, but you know what? I am not sure about this is the right person for us, but we don't care because the person has experience. No, it's very important for you to hire the right person that connects with your values, that connects with your beliefs, and not only bring people because they want to, they are just looking for something, like it's not necessarily your inner side of your company, your purpose. You need people who are connected with you. It's like a personal relationship, right? And the people or relationships which last the most are the ones that are more connected within each other about values and expectations. It's the same with a relationship in a business and with employees, right? And the last thing about the launch is share with the stakeholders, share with candidates, with everybody, so everybody can know a little bit more about your organization. So I'm going to give some minutes just to get any question if you have. But here you have some tools to unleash and penetrate culture in your processes. So, for example, we have here a very, in my experience, I have doing some assessments about different type of tools about culture fits assessment like that. And I found out criteria is one of the best ones. To be honest, have been experimented. We are very, very, very interesting outcomes into this. And this is a very interesting tool to explore if you want to assess talent through culture, and it's super high customized with your organization. Make sure that in the onboarding you have evangelization about your culture code. For example, here is very important that your leaders are trained around the culture. So whenever you do a leadership manifesto or something, make sure that your leaders are connected about that. There is an interesting model named Drexler-Sivet model that basically fosters high performance culture. So also this is a good tool to use. I mean, there are different things. But before we go, my 2 cents here: never delegate your culture too fast. It's very important. And what I mean about that is that whenever the organization grows, you hire people, and maybe you want to delegate some things to that people, etc. But it's very important for you as founders to get involved and to make sure that you are really being the role models into the culture of the organization and being super active into that. Make sure that you hire people with the right culture. Cold or impressive resumes are not always the right answer. Sometimes we are very impressed about a resume that has amazing credentials, but at the end of the day, what you really want to make sure is not only to hire the right talent in terms of experience, but also the right person for the culture that you have. And not everybody is for the culture that you have, and that's true. It's like the people, right? So not everybody can relate with each other in the same way. You need to be intentional about your culture in the same way about your unit economics and your discipline. Attach your processes and decision making to your culture, and hire fast or with the right pacing, but terminate faster. With people without the right culture can damage your organization super fast. So if you want to continue sharing, I'm super happy to help. Thank you very much for the time. I don't know if somebody has a question in the 4 minutes that we have left. So here you have my contacts. So here, LinkedIn or my email, whatever you want. I will be super happy to help if anything comes. Okay. So, okay. So anybody has a question, or do you want me to solve any question? Okay, here we have one. So you mentioned that culture evolves with the time, but how do you identify those pivotal moments where you need to create culture shifts, and even sometimes with key employees rotating from the company? Okay, for sure. So I think culture needs to be having some thermometer through the time. Okay, there is not that, like, I cannot tell you, okay, every single 2 months you need to review it, right? You need to have this thermometer, and there are several tools to have that information. So for example, employee net promoter score is a good tool to have this thermometer. So whenever you review the results of these type of things, or these metrics, you can understand where is the right time to do something and review about the culture that you have, right? So, and have this type of exercises. So, for example, in the methodology that I have shared with you in the culture canvas, Gustavo Rossetti says that every single year, at least, you need to review your culture code. So that's a recommendation. But at the end of the day, I can tell you, if you measure that continuously, I recommend you Employee Net Promoter Score can be a good tool. If you want me, you can write me and I can share with you a little bit about the methodology. But the point is that whenever you see that results and metrics, you can really see the effects and see if something is changing. Okay, there is also another question. Okay. With the evolution of workplaces and increasing rise of remote work models, how can organizations adapt their culture to meet the changes needs and employees who have been maybe based in different locations? Oof. Okay. So let me put you the short answer about that. In my learning, this has been something that culture is not about where you work, if you work in the office or if you work hybrid, if you work remote. It's about intentionality. The point about remote work is that you need to be more intentional about the rituals and the ways that you go into the interaction with people. So what happens is in the office, there are spontaneous environments and spontaneous actions and situations that happens because of the day-to-day basis or because of, I don't know, in the organic way, right? Because you are there, because you are sharing, and because it's natural and very human to connect with each other, right? But the point whenever you are virtual and whenever you become hybrid or whatever, the only thing that changes is that you need to be more intentional. You need to be more intentional about to create that spaces, let's say artificially, okay? So what happens organically in the workspace whenever you have the face-to-face, you need to create it intentionally and artificially. Let's say, for example, if you want to create a space for everybody to relax, to talk a bit about something different than work. For example, one thing that for me was useful whenever I have a completely virtual team is to have, I just choose one of my meetings over the week. It was like usually Friday's meeting where we decided just to talk about gossip or fun things, Okay, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, or how was the weekend, the last weekend, what's happening with you, blah, blah. So with that, you have that connection and you enable that natural connection, but in a space that you are creating intentionally, okay? There's another question. So let me go with the last one. How can employees, we have several. So also startups are known for having a culture where everything is high pace and high priority. How can you put a limit on this to avoid employee burnout and extreme multitasking? For sure. Well, for me is one thing that is named, and I have learned a lot from several amazing people I have been working with in the founding teams and leaders, is about ruthless prioritization. If everything is priority, nothing is priority, right? And nothing can be urgent, like everything, like all the time, is not possible. You need to have ruthless prioritization. And that means that you need to make sure what's going to be the thing that is going to move the needle, and be super clear about that. Okay. So that's one thing. Second thing is, okay, you as a leader, you need to make sure how you balance your team on that. For example, if you have a very strong sprint where everybody is super engaged and needs to have very hard work, it's very good to anticipate and have a conversation about that in advance. So for example, it's useful to say, guys, we're going to have 15 days that are going to be crazy. We're going to have long hours of work. And by doing that conversation and anticipating, everybody can know about it, right? That's one thing. Second thing is that you can reward the good work by doing something. So for example, in Rappi, we used to give them some free days after sprint, where people were having the opportunity to relax a little bit and to take calm a little bit after a very hard sprint, for example. And also, you as a leader, you can make it fun, right? What happens with burnout is that burnout comes whenever you feel that you don't have excitement, or you don't have joy about what you are doing, and you feel tired about that because you are also having like very complex situation, but by being frustrated about something, right? That's how burnout come. The point is that if you are a good leader, you need to understand what's happening with your people, and you need to sense it, right? You need to know what's going on, and make sure that you give the right things to everybody, so everybody can be like in a good way with you. And this is the art of being a leader. Being a leader is not to treat everybody in the same way. It's to put the footprint to make sure that everybody unleash their potential, but also to make sure that you give the right things for the people that you work with. Okay, so this is why a leadership is an art, and this is not only an action. Okay. We have another questions here. I will go with the last one because I think we are passing time. How can employees at all levels contribute to shaping and reinforcing the desired culture within their organization? Well, everybody builds a culture. It's not about you as a founder. It's not about you as a leader. It's everybody builds a culture. So if you hire the right people with the right culture that fits with your organization, if you involve them in the decision making, if you involve them in the rituals, if you give them participation in every single part of the thing that I share with you in the canvas, it's going to be something that everybody is going to encourage. If you put leaders accountable and you measure them about culture and how they are fostering that in the day-to-day basis, if you measure it in the teams within I don't know, with the tools that I have shared with you, employee net promoter score and like that, everybody's going to be involved. If you have the right talent with the right fit with the culture, if you encourage everybody to do that in the day-to-day actions, and also if you have some programs such as mentoring program, or maybe ambassadors program, or body program, whatever, there are several tools where you can give more participation of employees that can be better. If you want me, I can share with you some best practices, and you can connect with me in LinkedIn. Okay, guys, so it's time to go. Thank you very much for joining us. Please connect with me if you want me. You can contact me through my email, or if you want me to connect with you in LinkedIn, send me a direct message. Whatever you want, I will be super glad to participate and contribute, or to give any advice or whatever, or to give any recommendation, or to share any learning and failure. So thank you very much for the time. I hope that everybody enjoyed the presentation, and take care. See you.